This podcast is brought to you by the Oddities Coffee Shop and Novelty Store, located at 4182 Cordata Parkway here in Bellingham, Washington. We're serving up organic coffee from Camano Island Coffee Roasters, and we have freshly baked pastries from Avenue Bread, delicious donuts from LaFine's, and warm bagels from the Baglery. We carry toys, gifts, games, and unique items for your home, so please come on down and check us out.
You're listening to the Oddities podcast.
With this couple used to ride a motorcycle all the time, and they got in a horrible accident one time going around a turn, and then they slid down like gravel road, and when they got gravel like in their back, and so in the hospital they were like had to brush it out with like a steel brush or some shit to get it out, and it was like the most painful thing.
Why did
ever.
they have to use steel?
Yeah.
I mean, I just made that up, steel part, but like they had to use a brush. But either way, getting gravel brushed out of your back, fuck.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah. Are you into motorcycles, Kira?
I had a moped, and I loved my moped.
That's so cute.
I like dirt bikes because I like the adrenaline thing. But I wouldn't want a motorcycle as like my main source of travel. I really like having the surrounding bubble of my car, and I like having all the room.
Makes sense.
I love having all the room, and then like at night, especially having the warmth and the like comfort.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever crash on a motorcycle, like a dirt bike?
No, my moped broke down a couple times, so I'd like accidentally, as it's slowing down, I'd run it into the curb, but I've never crashed.
Well, mopeds
and,
you
like,
can't really
fallen.
crash like you can a
They
motorcycle
only
or
go
a
like
dirt
35
bike.
miles per hour.
Yeah. I was riding a dirt bike as a kid and I went around a corner too fast and I lost kind of control of it and wiped out really hard, and then I never rode a motorcycle ever. I pretty much crashed on everything I've ever been on: a quad, a bicycle, a motorcycle, a car.
Basically, you should Uber.
Anything
Yes,
anything that
yes.
moves, I've been in accidents. And thankfully, though, I've never broken or hurt anything. So
Yay.
yeah.
If you ever have a train accident, please tell me how that goes.
Why?
I just feel
Are you
like
curious?
going off rails. Going off rails sounds terrifying, and trains go on such like sharp turns. How do we not have more accidents?
I don't know how they stand checks. Well, trains are kind of like airplanes, where like it's so big and so heavy that if that thing crashes, you're just getting fucked up.
Yeah.
Like it's not like a car where you're probably gonna survive.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're going like incredibly fast, like 100 or 120, and you crash in a car. But normally, you're not really going that fast usually in your day-to-day life. I mean, maybe on the interstate, but for the most part, like you're not really gonna get too hurt in a car accident. And I've been in a lot of them. Most of them not my fault though. Just
Most
FYI.
of them.
FYI, the worst one I was ever in, I was driving back from Salt Lake City. I think I was like 18 or 19, with this girl that I worked with. We'd been up for like 24 hours straight. It was like 3 a.m. in the
Red
morning.
flag number one.
I came over the pass, and it was like 3 a.m., so it's quiet, and you know it's warm in the car. She's asleep. There's no traffic, and you're just driving, and it's just like lulling you to sleep. And I start to like drift off to the side, and you know on the side of the road they have like those indents where when you start to run,
rumble
it vibrates.
strips.
So I ran over those. I woke up. I was like, oh shit. And then I did it a second time. I was like, oh shit. And then the third time, I woke up right before I was about to hit like a reflector thing on the side of the road, and it scared me, and I was going like 70 on cruise control, and I jerked the wheel over the right too hard, and I hit the embankment, and I flipped over, and we like rotated, and we're facing the opposite direction.
Oh my god.
And the whole back hood was like caved in and crushed, and luckily there's not a scratch on us. We survived that one. That was the worst one I was ever in. And there was a girl that was supposed to be in the back seat with us. And this is pre-cell phone days, right? Because I'm old. So we were waiting at the office for this girl to show up because we drove to Salt Lake City to go to a training for work. We're sitting there waiting. We're like, where the fuck is she, right? And like 2 hours go by and she doesn't show. And we're like, well, we got to leave because we're driving all the way to Utah from Oregon. So we got to get going, right? So we leave and this whole accident happens, whatever. And then it turns out, we find out that she was on the way to the office to meet us, but got a flat tire and was in the middle of nowhere, was on the road or whatever, and had no way to contact us. And so we just left without her. But she was kind of tall and she would have been in the back seat. So she might have fucking got her head like smashed.
Yep.
It was bad because
Oh
it was
my
literally, the roof was
gosh.
like this, like just caved in the whole back, like back side of the car. Yeah. It's lucky for her. What about you, Danielle? Have you ever been in any bad accidents?
I guess I've been in a couple like bicycle
Uh-huh.
accidents.
Nothing
so I got
bad.
my Nike swoosh from.
Your Nike swoosh? Oh, that?
Oh.
I always thought that was a birthmark.
No, it's a big old scar.
Oh,
Ow.
shit.
I accidentally
Talking to that mic, can you hold that thing up to your mouth?
hello. I can like kind of. Oh, there we go.
You can hear it now, huh?
There we go. Now I can hear myself. This is
I
funny.
mean, you can pick it up if you want.
I
you don't have to lean
it makes
over.
like a
Oh, does
noise
it?
on this
Okay.
part. No, yeah, it was up when I was in grad school. They have like these designated bike lanes for like bikers on campus because there's like hundreds of thousands of people.
Oh, wow.
And she wasn't paying attention. I wasn't paying attention, but I saw her walk like into the bike lane, but then I didn't see her leave it. So like when I looked back up, I was like, oh shit, she's still there. She was just like on her phone, so I swerved to miss her, and I did not miss her.
Oh shit.
Ooh.
Ripped my leg open.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
I think you told me this story.
I don't thank God it was in Canada. It was only $500.
Oh
It
my
was
god.
only $500 for 13 stitches and then like 2 free follow-ups to get the stitches out and then make sure it was
Nice.
okay.
Did you go to the ER?
I did.
If you go to the ER in the U.S., it's thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes you hours. So I've been in the ER once down here when I was a dumbass when I was younger. I was making biscuits with a wine glass because I couldn't find like the cutter. So like I like stabbed through my hand. But like 6
Ow.
hours and like I think it was like $2,000
You had to
later.
wait. You were in the ER,
Yeah.
but were you waiting for? You weren't waiting for 6 hours.
We were waiting for 6
Are
hours.
you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
And you were just bleeding that whole
Yeah.
time? Get the fuck out of
I
here.
like
dude.
was-
friend. I walked into her house and she was on the ground in the fetal position, like curled up and just moaning. And I was like, "What's wrong with you?" And she goes, Can you drive me to the ER?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, get in my car." And we go and I'm not kidding, waited for 9 hours just
Get the
in
fuck
the
outta
chairs.
here.
And when she
Mhm.
finally went back, I was the only one there until her brother-in-law showed up, and then he was there for the last hour. We waited back there for 2 more hours while she was by herself and couldn't text us updates. And we finally said, like, can we just go check on her? Like, can we please? So we finally got back there and found out she had a cyst or like some type of tumor or something on one of her ovaries burst.
Ow.
And she was waiting for 9 hours
Doesn't
in
that
that
cause
chair.
internal bleeding?
I don't know what happened. They gave her like ibuprofen and aspirin and said like, "This is the best for you."
What?
Go
What?
home.
No,
Get the fuck out of here.
They just monitored her.
Didn't give her any painkiller or anything?
That was it. That's what they gave her.
And that was like $2,000. How much was that? Probably $1,000. Yours was
I have no
$2,000.
idea. She doesn't have insurance. She just went.
That's crazy. Cysts can be insane. You can die from a burst cyst.
Well, why does it? I mean, it's supposed to be an emergency. Why does it take so long?
because
how is
our
that-
hospital system down here sucks.
That is so insane. Wow.
We made friends in the waiting room. Like, so long.
Nice.
God.
Yeah,
She must have-
last year I had a friend. She was making something with pumpkin in it, and she used a can opener to open the pumpkin.
Ooh, when the lid got her.
Yeah, and she went to catch the lid because it fell, and it just sliced through her hand. And then we had to wait in the ER, and it felt really long. I think it was like 3 hours.
I love how they just let you sit there bleeding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is it really? I mean, how do they not have enough space in a giant hospital to accommodate
No
people? Like
clue.
the ER, I guess, only has so many beds.
Thinking about
But,
it, do
like-
they even give you like an ice pack? They're like, can we give you a Band-Aid? Can we give you something
Nothing.
in
They
the
usually just
meantime?
let you wait there. It's so insane. I would love to see what it's like in other countries in terms of emergencies. Like you have to go to a hospital in like, Canada or Thailand or Europe or like any other countries. Like it's got to be like the worst.
I mean, Canada's pretty great. It's a
Yeah.
myth where they're like, oh, universal health care make it's so much better.
I
It's
heard
so much better.
my
Universal
friend said,
healthcare
yeah,
is-
it's
Yeah.
free and it's great, but you get a big injury, you go to the ER, and because there's so many people ahead of you that just
Nah.
scrape their knee,
That
they
look
get
like-
to go.
With what happened with me, like, I'm not even like a Canadian citizen, and it's just a couple hours. It's the same as it is down here, almost faster. It's universal and not
Wow.
privatized. Yeah, it's just either people have had like one bad experience and so then they go off of that, but it's definitely like better or just the same as down here. So it's like
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, other countries are so much better with like the healthcare system, especially like in like when I went to Thailand. The girl I went with was telling me like it's just like everything is free. Like a lot of places you just go in, you just like swipe a card and you're done and out, and it's just like the universal healthcare thing. And yeah, well, I was telling Danielle recently. I think it was you. I was telling like I'm missing a tooth over here because I cracked it, and I had to have it extracted.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. Have you guys ever had a tooth pulled? Fuck, man.
Maybe.
Hearing the
Yeah,
cracking
well,
and the
No,
rain.
I have not.
Well,
Never mind.
the drill part
I've not.
when they were drilling into your tooth is it was like
Yeah.
that's what it sounds like. It squeaks like a nail out of a piece of wood.
And it smells.
Yeah, I
You
didn't
can
get the
smell it.
smell part.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Like burning teeth as it's grinding? Oh, it's
And then
horrible.
so what they do is they basically just drill into it and then they go like they like move this thing. It's like they're just prying a nail,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
it just
you're
cracks and pops and explodes. And then the assistant's there with some gauze on like the little scissor deal, and as soon as he pulls it out, she's like, "Bam!" Like plugs it up. Yeah. How come you had to have yours taken out?
It like just rotted. I
Uh-huh.
don't know. I think I had a cavity or something. It just went too long
Yeah.
being untreated, and it got like down into
Mhm.
the veins or gums or whatever. And we tried numbing pain or the numbing gel and everything, and just nothing was working. They ended up saying, "Yeah, we gotta have it pulled."
Uh-huh.
And just all in one sitting, they numbed me up. I still felt it a little bit, but hearing the cracking was the worst
Uh-huh.
part.
Oh,
Just
it's horrible, dude.
oh, it's
'Cause
horrible.
yeah. Are you still missing that tooth, or did you get a replacement?
No, it grew back. Like
Wait,
I
it
mean,
grew
it didn't grow
back?
back. It was a baby tooth.
Oh.
Yeah,
I was like, it grew
sorry.
back. I'm
And
like,
the
that
new one
doesn't
grew
happen.
in. The new one grew in.
Well, anyways, to get a new tooth put in, it's like $4,000. But I was telling Danielle, like, I could literally just fly to Thailand or Mexico and have it done cheaper. For $4,000, I could buy a round trip ticket, go to a foreign country, have it done, and still have money for a vacation. It's
Get a
basically
piece
take a
of gold in
vacation.
it.
Yeah, I get a gold one instead. So, anyways, how's that acting going? When do we get to see your
Yes.
Yours.
I don't. That's on Sid, and if Sid ever watches this, he'll probably laugh because I'm calling him out for it. But he takes forever
Uh-huh.
to edit his short films. Hopefully soon, because he kind of got a semi-famous guy in it.
who?
His name's Christian. He went to like college here, and then he has a famous brother, and he moved to LA and stuff, and so he's making it there. But they flew him back for this one short film because they just had a part like perfect for him.
Uh-huh.
So
Who's
he's
they?
Sid's production team, like
Oh.
Sid himself, his AD, his whole crew, and everyone. They flew Christian up, and his fans know about it now. So if it's not
Uh-huh.
out soon, it's gonna
What
get
is he in?
forgotten. He was in like some YouTube shorts
Uh-huh.
and everything. I
Hmm.
think he's got one thing on maybe Netflix. I could be wrong.
Uh-huh.
That's probably wrong, but it might no wait, maybe it is on Netflix. I don't know. But he's getting there.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't know, this one's kind of hopeful.
Uh,
I hope this one like makes it.
what part did he play?
He was kind of like a douchebag astronaut.
Oh, really?
Love it.
Oh, that's cool. And where's it gonna be put up on YouTube when they're done?
Probably YouTube,
Uh-huh.
and then probably gonna go through like festivals if those open up soon.
Mhm.
Hopefully another platform eventually.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
How'd you guys do the whole social distancing thing on
If we weren't directly in front of the
Uh-huh.
camera and the record button wasn't on, we had masks on,
Uh-huh.
and because of blocking and stuff, we had to stay pretty close to each other on set. But if we weren't directly on set, we had individually placed seats everywhere.
Uh-huh.
We had individually wrapped lunches, and we all sat apart and
Nice.
everything.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Dang, how big was like the crew and everyone
Mm.
on it?
We only had 2, 3, 4 actors,
Uh-huh.
and then pretty big crew, probably like 13 people.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
With lighting and everything.
Lots of building sets.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Where'd
it's
you guys
called-
shoot it at?
Yeah.
Bay Theater, like near Railroad,
Uh-huh.
downtown Bellingham. The
Okay.
like Bay, production
Oh,
company.
cool. What was the name of your character?
Well, in the script it was Kira for the longest time, and I thought Sid wrote it about me to make fun of me, but apparently that wasn't the case, and they just changed it to Sam.
To make fun of you?
Yeah.
Why? Why is it like a nerdy, dorky, like, not that you are, but.
Well, the character, yes, is essentially that essence, but it's
Uh-huh.
what the character does, and I don't know if I'm allowed to spoil it or not, so I won't, but it's what the character does that kind of sets off the
Uh-huh.
thing. And I thought, like, yeah, that kind of sounds like me, and Sid probably wanted to make fun of that,
Mhm.
and so I just rolled with it, and then they changed it to the name Sam, just because that sounded like scientist name.
Who wrote the script?
Sid.
Oh, he
Sid
did?
and his friend Katie, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And you got any other projects coming up?
Not
Uh-huh.
in the foreseeable future.
Uh-huh.
Everything that was hopeful.
I wonder
is
what
now
they're gonna do
canceled.
for like plays. I
Aw.
know like Hollywood, they started like shooting movies and shows again.
Oh,
but-
they did.
Yeah, but I wonder like with like theater stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is that ever gonna happen again?
Bellingham had a show in the works, and then
Mm.
COVID shut everything down.
Aww.
And so they were like, hey, we're really hopeful, so we're going to keep rehearsing. We're going to have masks on, though, and we're going to social distance during our rehearsals. And then for shows and everything, hopefully
Uh-huh.
everything will clear up by then. And that was months ago, so I don't know.
Aw.
I
Uh-huh.
think their show just got,
Oh, crazy.
yeah.
Have you ever auditioned for anything else besides the plays up in Linden?
I've done, like, my high school theater, my middle school theater. I actually think that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then short films elsewhere, but
Yeah.
theater wise, no. There was one more locally, and then everything else kind of happened in the same place, different companies, but same theater.
Yeah.
So I just kind of lump it.
But you've never gone up to like Vancouver or anything to audition for anything?
No, if I want to do a short film in Vancouver, they require a work permit, and those are really hard to get.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, dang. You auditioned for some stuff, though, you were telling me, right, Danielle? What was that one show? You told me that you auditioned for...
That was forever ago.
Yeah, what was that?
They were trying to come up with a, like, gadgets, something show for girls. But not have it be about makeup. I don't even remember what it was called. And it was like, yeah, super small. They only had 10 people audition. They didn't even have a script for you to write, like read off of. So they gave you like a quick 5-second, like it's literally just a show for women, for girls, about like cool tools and stuff that you can use every day. Introduce the show. And I was like,
oh goodness.
Improv.
Yeah.
What channel was that for? Like what station?
I have no idea. It like went to the next round.
And what'd you say though?
I said something like, hello, this is your host, Danielle, and today on Gadgets for Girls and Other Fun Things, we're going to be talking about, and I had to make something up, because they were just sitting there looking at me, and I was like... How to not be a useless bitch in the kitchen. I was like, and today, it's an armband that holds your phone while you are putting your hair up.
I love it.
They were just like... What?
I would have gone the comedic route. I would have gone for shock factor. You know what I mean? I would have said exactly what I just said or something like that.
It was, it went to
how to not depend on your man for everything or some shit, you know, like.
Well, one girl said that. She was like, and today we're going to talk about how to not be basic. And I was just like,
are you a basic bitch? This gadget's for you.
No, yeah, she was like, how to have basic stuff for not basic bitches. And I was just like, oh my god, that's amazing. But then they got mad at her because she swore, but.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
What? And so you made it to the second round?
Yeah, so it was like 15 people, and then it got squished down to like 5, and then none of us ever heard back.
There's like 5 people, we're not going to do this
Yeah,
show.
so unfortunately, like, they already had it like filmed, so my guess is maybe just like the pilot didn't get picked up, so then they didn't need a host, because
that makes sense.
is like the only thing I can think of. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's just been like silly things like that. Seattle. Macy's ads.
You auditioned for a Macy's ad?
My voice is in one of them.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
You never fucking said anything.
They just had us like say a bunch of stuff, and they said like.
So wait, go back up a little bit though. How did it start? Where do you see like an advertisement to like?
They couldn't use like my body or my face because I was underage. I was only 16.
But wait, what does that
so
have to do with
I could sign the release like for my voice, because like your voice recording is a different, thing than like your body.
So if you're underage, can't your parents just sign off for the commercial?
Yeah, my dad didn't want to do that. I don't know. He was just like, you're a little too young for this.
16?
Yeah.
It's not that young.
What?
To be in a commercial?
I don't know. He just was like, it's too young, but they can definitely use your voice. And so we signed the thing for like the voice, and it's just like, sometimes when like makeup commercials, if they have like one girl on stage, or then they have like other girl voices around, they don't have to pay for the actors. They just pay for the voices.
That makes sense.
And so it's like one of those ones, and I'm just going, oh my god, I love it. Like it's I haven't heard the commercial.
That's awesome. And you got paid for that?
Yeah, I only got paid like $100.
Oh my god.
Yeah, which is like, they used it for years, so I should have just gone for the royalties. Like,
Damn. But how do you even audition for that? Like, how do you even know that's a thing to audition for, and how do you even find it?
So I used to do this thing called John Robert Powers, and it's this like conglomerate type like casting thing for singing, modeling, acting.
It's the kind where you pay
to go take
classes.
You pay, you give them all of your money, and even when you start making money, they still take some of your money.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and so like I just did that for like a few years, just so I could like get my foot in the door, and like people recognize my face and my name. Also because I was underage, so a lot of places won't take you if you're underage unless like you have buku bucks or something. But yeah, they would just send you an email and be like, this is happening here, this is happening here.
And you just show up to audition for them?
Yeah.
Was there like a ton of people that would show up?
Oh my gosh. They would always be in like Target or somewhere weird, because you just like file throughout the whole.
Just like a mass massive
and
amount
you
of
came
people.
up and you gave them a picture, and they were just like, "What are you doing? Singing, acting? What are you doing?" And you have to be like, "Acting," and then they would check it down, and they look at you, and you have to do something for 10 seconds. You have 30 seconds, and if you don't get them within the first 10, then they're like,
Wow.
"Okay, thank you." And I'm
Well,
like,
that's still pretty epic though. They got you out of all those people. I mean, you made it.
Yeah,
Something right.
it's- well,
Dang, that's crazy. Well, I was listening to Rob Lowe, who was on Rogan's podcast, and I knew the stat before, but he said like literally less than 1% of all working actors actually make enough money acting to actually support themselves and pay their bills.
Yep.
Less than 1%. So all the people you see on like Netflix and Amazon and all the movies and all the TV shows, like all of those people, like less than 1% of those people make enough money to like pay their bills.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nuts. It's like
Do we pause or do we keep talking?
we could keep talking.
Okay.
What's
It's
your
real easy to edit
favorite
that stuff out.
production that you've been in, Kira?
I think probably like the most fun was the Addams Family because that was just the most. I mean, everyone around me was laughing and cracking jokes.
Yeah.
And I played Wednesday, so I was just deadpan the whole time. And it's not as hard as you think, but it was like the reactions from people were
Mhm.
really funny. And I don't know, there's just something about the feeling of someone cracking a joke, the whole audience cracking up, and just being able to go, and they just laugh even harder, and it's like great. Most fun backstage was High School Musical, and if you were in it or you saw it, you know that was a shit show. It was so bad, like it's cringy. It was embarrassing.
Was it for Lyndon or?
It was the one other community theater I did, and like that was their last show they did.
Oh wow.
It was so bad.
Oh damn! Why was it so bad? Like, what was going wrong?
Just like favoritism
Uh-huh.
was a lot
Oh.
of played into the casting,
That
and
makes
so
sense.
the characters weren't the greatest.
Uh-huh.
Just because they were the director's favorite.
Uh-huh.
But the friends I made backstage, this is so cheesy and so cliche, but the friends I made backstage were genuinely the most fun people I had. I was just like having a blast that whole summer. I don't even think it was a summer. I don't know, spring. Made like some best friends. We would have like cast parties every night. We had a group chat, which obviously ended inevitably, but like for a while we were tight. We were buds. But the show itself was really bad and it's really embarrassing.
How long ago was this?
Sophomore year, so 2015, I think.
Is the show on YouTube?
No.
Better be.
Actually, I could think about trying it. I don't think it's copyrighted. I see other people's.
Yeah.
I'll try that. But I think like most fulfilling was senior year, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. I played Millie, and that was just like, that was my crowning glory moment.
Beautiful.
So much fun. Yeah.
Have you ever forgot your lines on anything?
No, not bad enough on stage that like we have an issue or I have to improvise. I've definitely zoned out for a minute and said my line a second too late, but no one could really tell unless you had seen me do it multiple times. It looked like I just took a big pause, which fake it.
Woohoo.
And I made it.
Do you always get excited like being there, or is there ever moments when you're doing it again? Like, because like when we saw the Chronicles of Narnia, how many times did you guys do that?
That show was so repetitive in the end. I would just be backstage in my big fluffy coat on my phone until it was time to just walk out and like do my little dance and then walk backstage. That one I would start like sleep. There were two scenes where I was a statue because like the White Witch turns us into statues or something, and I was a tree, so I didn't have any specific like unicorn pose or any cool whatever. So I would just fold my arms and close my eyes and sleep.
Love it.
Like they'd scream, and that would be my cue to like kind of just open my eyes, and they'd unfreeze us all, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm alive." Fake it again.
Love
Yeah.
it.
What was that your least favorite play you ever done? Because I know you talk a lot of shit about that one.
Probably. I loved the people. The show was really badly written. It's a great book. It's a great movie, but trying to turn it into a play, there was a song. The first song was about doors and windows. It's really bad. But like the friends back there were great too. It was a lot of kids, which was just an interesting dynamic. I'm not a big fan of kids, and yet my award at the end was like the babysitter because they all would flock to me and like play with me and stuff, and I would just be like, okay.
I remember you on stage, like one of the kids, I think it was you, like wasn't there like a kid you had your hand on? There was like one kid you were like holding in place to try to keep him chill.
Yeah,
I forget.
the baby squirrel. She was
Uh-huh.
our youngest castmate. She was 6 years old.
That's adorable.
And she'd run up to me because I was the tree, and so she was my squirrel, and I'd hold her like this. And
Uh-huh.
on stage during their big crowning moment and everything, she would look at me and pick her nose, and I'd be like, "Mary, stop!" And she'd go, "This is really boring." And I would just be smiling like, "It's okay, just smile." And she'd be like, to the audience, and they're all cracking up, and I'm like, "I don't know what to do."
Oh,
Everyone
really
loved her though because she
boring.
was cute.
That's
She was a
hilarious.
little kid.
Yeah. Have you ever been in any plays, Olivia?
I have not. I
Uh-huh.
auditioned for one, which I remembered like 2 days ago or yesterday.
Oh, really?
I was like, wow, that was a really
Which one
long
was
time
that?
ago. It was Beauty and the Beast,
Uh-huh.
and I do not sing, so I don't know what I was doing
Uh-huh.
trying to audition
Who
for
were you
it.
auditioning for?
Just like ensemble,
Yeah.
basically. But oh my gosh, my friend Naomi, it was with her school that I was doing it, and she's definitely into musical. She's in New York right now, and
What you doing in New York? Broadway stuff?
no, I
Back when
don't
you
even
could?
know what her major is,
Uh-huh.
but she's at Sarah Lawrence College, and I would assume dance and eventually something else, but
Mhm.
I love her. She does such amazing stuff. She ended up being Belle for like half of the shows, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But it was super fun.
Oh, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I haven't been in anything. When was the last time you auditioned for something, Danielle?
Like school.
Yeah. Yeah. How passionate are you about like acting? Is
That's
it just
what I want to do.
is it just a hobby? Oh, it's something you really want to do?
Yeah,
That's so
no,
cool.
since I've been sick,
Uh-huh.
since I was 6 years old, that's all I did.
Yeah.
I did my first show. I think my parents just tried to get me out of the house and
Uh-huh.
signed me up for one of those children's theater where
Yeah.
it's like a camp.
Uh-huh.
And I was there and just, I don't know, I loved it, kept going, then did community theater, kept going with that. I have no clue when the singing started because none of my siblings sing. My mom did sing, and she sings a lot, but I don't know when I started because I don't sing for my family
Yeah.
either. I just joined musicals and was singing backstage and then began getting cast as like a better character and then eventually leads. And I was like, okay, I can do this.
Uh-huh.
And now I can't think of any other thing that I'd want to do for the rest of my life and have fun with it while hopefully make some type of income.
Yeah.
There's just nothing else. I don't want a desk job. I don't want to talk to people that much. I really like
Uh-huh.
having the script and having direction and having like bringing this character to life and then having it being like edited to look really cool.
That's so
I
cool.
love everyone being passionate about their own individual things. The lighting, the camera, the writers, and the actors come together and we create this big cool thing
Mm-hmm.
that then gets broken up again into people critiquing it. And
Yeah.
then I love the whole process. I love the end result and I love the connection that you make from it because you're not stuck somewhere for super long, but long enough that you make friends, relationships, and then still get to go your separate way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
So
super
if it
cool.
wasn't COVID right now, like what would you be doing to like? Because I know you do the plays up in Linden. Would you have to like go to LA or go up to Vancouver and start auditioning? Like what are you gonna do next?
I was looking at Vancouver a lot, but like I said, it's really hard to get a work permit
Uh-huh.
unless you're really. I mean, I am really, really passionate, but I'd probably have to go to school there as well to
Mhm.
get easily in. And I'm just not a big fan of going to school for grades and
Yeah.
stuff. It's really hard for me to be told by a teacher. It has to be the director
Uh-huh.
doing a professional show, just classes are not my thing.
Yeah.
I want to be in the moment. So California would have to be the move, but that's not going super well right now either.
Mhm.
I heard Vancouver is the hot spot for the new Hollywood and everything. And where I'm at currently living is perfect distance from there
Yeah.
and everything that it really should work out. So maybe I need to suck it up and go to school.
Dang. Well,
Just
what?
do like a quarter or something.
Yeah.
Probably good.
What?
Get an artist diploma.
Artist diploma.
Usually not as expensive, but it's still like a schooling thing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Huh? Why is California not the spot right now?
It's just not really a great place for living. Expenses, the smoke, the pollution, the people aren't
No,
the
I agree.
nicest I've heard.
I agree with all
Yeah.
that.
Too many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, why is it so hard in Vancouver? Just because you're not a resident?
Moving to Canada,
Yeah.
first of all, is near impossible unless you like get married.
Uh-huh.
But if the borders would open up, I could probably go back and forth
Yeah.
and try out for things and do more things. I'm just scared of it being super suspicious. Like, why are you here
Yeah.
again?
Yeah, they shoot a lot of stuff up in Vancouver. A lot of shows get shot up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Riverdale, like right at this one.
The 100, that was a really popular show that was shot up there.
Lots of Hallmark movies are shot up there.
Yeah, lots of movies. Yeah, well, that's cool, man. I hope you become famous.
Thank you.
Because I know her.
And be like,
You'd be
hey.
the most famous person I've ever met.
Send everyone to
know.
Oddities.
That's
They're
right.
like, I was here.
Come to some premieres. Yeah,
Exactly.
we'll put your picture up on
In
the
a
wall.
gold frame.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can autograph it.
Yes.
That'd be so cool.
We won't have a framed first dollar. It'll just be a framed picture of
Just
Kira.
a picture of your face, just
Yes.
autographed, and then all your IMDb will just like put all like little plates
We
as
just
you get
add it more.
as you get new stuff. We'll just like have hooks that hook on the new nameplate
Yeah.
of whatever it is. Well, that's cool. Are you the only actor in your family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The younger of my older brothers did shows first. He did the little theater before me. I was too young to get into them yet, but then he did one show with me.
Mm.
The next year I got in and he didn't, and that's about where he kind of quit.
Okay,
And then I just kept going with it.
that's cool.
Mhm.
What about you, Olivia? What are you up to?
Nothing.
Something all about Kira. Got your motorcycle license?
Yes.
What kind of? Are you gonna keep the bike you have, or are you gonna get something new?
I'll definitely keep the bike I have. It's just a matter of when I get something new.
And you already passed the test, right? You're just waiting for them to mail it to you.
Yeah, I just have to add it on. Well, I did add it onto my license, so I'm good now.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Why motorcycles? Has that been something you want to do for a long time? You just love them, or what?
Not really,
No.
but my boyfriend Kai has one, and I was like, hey, you should teach me how to ride. Taught me how to ride, and I was like, hey, I should get my own bike. Got my own bike.
You're a little gang with him. Ride side by side on the road.
Oh yeah, it's so fun. Me and him, and then we have 2 other friends that ride the exact same bike that we have, but then we have 2 other friends that ride just like different bikes.
You guys got a little biker
Have a
group
gang.
going. You guys got to get matching like shirts and uniforms now.
We have matching stickers. Well, I don't have one, but 2 of them do.
Yeah.
The guy just needs to make stickers for me.
Yeah, it's too bad Jasmine's not here, because Jasmine was telling me that before at her old place where she worked, she would sing there on the weekends
Really?
for like $100. Yeah, I guess she worked at a coffee shop before. I forget where. I don't. Probably not Starbucks, but
she did work at a Starbucks.
Yeah,
She did, but
she said on the weekend she would sing, and she's played the piano for like 12 years. She
What?
said. I was like, you and Kira need to start a band.
Oh my
What the
gosh,
heck?
Jasmine.
Yeah,
Dang it. Wish
Yeah, I
she was
know.
here.
yeah. It's
For
like, wow, so
12
many
that's
musical people. You got
crazy.
3 of you, man.
I didn't know
sing.
you
And
did
us.
anything. That's super cool.
I didn't know you did anything.
No, I meant like acting, theater, musically wise.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Nakatani's got talent.
Mm-hmm.
Her sister is also a singer.
Yakatani.
And Sias, her last name is Nakatani. It is. Her name is Nakatani.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say mine.
Oh, no. Her.
Mine is Yakanetti.
Oh, wow.
Yakatani.
No.
I literally thought he was like making a joke of my last name, and I'm like, no.
No.
I want to joke about your name. The only thing I said is it's spelled wrong because it's Yakanetti, but spelled with like an I. I was like, how what?
It's an I-A.
I-A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it written out, but I always thought it was Kira Icanetti.
Yeah.
My middle name is
That's what it
worse.
looks like. It looks like Ian Canetti. Like Ian Canetti.
But I've
like-
never seen it written
I-
out, so I guess I just kind of
Uh-huh.
assumed.
Yeah. She's Hawaiian too.
Well, I was
What-
born in Hawaii.
What's your middle
not
name?
Mexico.
Say it.
Kuuihe.
Kahuihe. Right?
Kuuihe.
Kuihe?
Kuuihe.
Kuihe.
Yeah.
Is that close enough?
Yeah.
Kuihe. Yeah. It's Polynesian.
Ooh.
Ooh. But mostly Italian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And Dutch.
I am mostly Dutch. From my dad's side, I'm Italian, and that's
Mhm.
where I get my last name, my brown hair, my brown eyes, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is theater a big thing in Linden? Because the only 2 people I know from Linden is you and Grace, and you guys are both in theater, so.
Well, she's from Nooksack.
Oh, is she?
She's not even from Linden.
Oh,
Yeah.
she can't claim it then.
No. It's getting bigger. Linden's more sports, basketball,
Uh-huh.
football, and I hated that. And I was so everyone would always talk about it, and I'd be like, I don't care at all. One time in 7th grade, they were talking about what is his name? Shit. Pete Carroll or something.
Uh-huh.
Everyone was talking about that.
You mean the
Yeah,
the
everyone was
Seahawks
talking about him,
coach.
and very
The
loudly, I just went,
coach.
"Who even is that?"
Uh-huh.
And I swear, every single boy, at least, and the teacher, who was a girl, everyone just stared at me wide-eyed and went, "The Seahawk coach?" And I was like, I wouldn't know that. I don't care. But then we did The Little Mermaid my junior year, and not the captain, but like a really popular football player
Uh-huh.
was known to like sing and like go, what is the word, busking on the sides of the street and stuff. He'd like
Mhm.
play guitar and
really?
sing and
Okay.
stuff. So we found out he could sing, and we recruited him, and we're like, hey, you should come audition for the musical. And he did. and he got Eric, and we all found out this guy can sing and he can act, and he's like pretty good looking. So he started getting all the leads in the community theater and at the high school theater. Quit football, started doing vocal lessons, and now he's at college, like pursuing theater.
What the heck?
Doing
That's so cool.
really well. As a freshman, he got cast as the lead in their college theater and was told that he won't make it to senior year. He'll be on Broadway by then.
That's so cool. Where is he
and
in
he
school?
came from football. Somewhere in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
Love
so
it.
now that was what sparked all his football buddies came to see the show. All the like Linden moms that knew him came to see the show, and then everyone was like, "Oh, theater's actually good. Theater's kind of cool. Let's give them money."
Yes.
And then that's when Seven Brides got like their really cool set and everything. So that was the next year. And it's now getting way bigger, way cooler.
So cool.
People like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you one of those people that's super hard on yourself and critical of like your performances?
Yeah.
You are?
Absolutely.
You always break them down and you're like, oh.
Any little crack I hear, I'm just. Everyone's like, I didn't even hear that. Like, It's so bad, yeah.
I looked the wrong direction, and everyone's like, "What? No,
Yeah,
for me."
I think I mixed up two words. It was like bankers, teachers, preachers too, and I said bankers, preachers, teachers too, and just in my head I'm like, oh no. The line already passed, and I'm just like, everyone knows. I'm gonna mess up everything else, and then like, no one knows.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep. Cool. What else is new? What shows you guys watching right now? Give me
Solar
some-
Opposites.
What is that about? I noticed that you posted that on
Yeah,
Instagram.
that was the one I was trying to tell you about one day and couldn't remember the name of. It's from like the creators of Rick and Morty. It's super cute. It's on Hulu. Also, Top Gear.
But wait, so what's it about?
Oh, I don't really remember. No, there's like these aliens, and they came from their alien planet because their alien planet exploded, and then they come to Earth, and they're like this alien family on Earth, and they just live and solve their things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also Top Gear, love Top Gear. Not the American one. Fuck the American one. UK one.
Why is the UK one so much better?
It's just so much better.
Yeah.
It was also the original, pretty sure.
Okay.
Who knows? And The Simpsons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Is that just an ongoing, on repeat thing?
Yeah.
See, Kira is the person I talk to movies the most about because she's never seen so many like famous classic movies.
I haven't
Sorry.
either.
Like, I'm just like, she's like, what? Like,
I'll get to it. I really, really want
there's
to
so
watch
many like
Lord of the
great
Rings
movies.
and Star Wars.
Never
I'll
seen Lord of the Rings and
get
Star Wars.
to
Some of
it.
the biggest movies ever.
I have the most obsessive personality. If I get into it, I will not let it go for months. And I'm
just gonna name
worried
some.
about
Have you
that.
seen Avatar?
Like the blue
Yeah.
one or
Yeah.
the Last Airbender?
No, the blue one.
Yeah, I didn't like it. 'Cause
I think
I
I
watched it
saw-
really young.
Did you
and
see
it was boring.
Titanic?
Yeah.
I saw that one.
Yes.
I think Garden State was one to name. Have you seen Garden State?
No.
I have
Oh
not
my
heard of
god,
that.
that's a good movie.
Is it about California?
No, it's
Is
just like
that the
one of those
Garden
coming
State?
of age
What's the Garden State?
stories, and it's like a comedy, and it's got Zach Braff, Natalie Portman. It's one of their earlier movies they did. Some other people you'd recognize who names I don't know.
You'd be like,
But
oh, that guy.
He's basically in LA trying to become an actor, and he's like hopped up on pills because came from a fucked up childhood, and his dad's a psychiatrist who like was prescribing him like drugs, like medications to
Oh.
try to treat him with his like personality, whatever. And he has to go back home because his mom died. So he goes back home, and he's like kind of there with his dad, and it's awkward. He meets Natalie Portman randomly at a doctor's office, and she's kind of fucked up and crazy herself in a weird
Oh,
way.
that sounds
But
great.
it's super cute. But they get together, and they have this kind of funny, like weird interactions, and they just kind of go around their town, like kind of just discovering themselves and like kind of
Aw.
like falling in love, and they're hanging out with their friends, and they're going to like these little parties and stuff, and it's just like a really cute movie. It's what made him like kind of. I mean, Zach Braff was on Scrubs, which I had never seen, which was also a really popular show.
Yeah.
But this is the first movie I think he wrote and directed or whatever. But it's like just a really famous, like cool, like movie. So yeah, so that was one. Put that on your list. What other famous movies was it? There? I know there's like a bunch of movies we were talking about. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like you haven't seen that?
I just know that Lord of the Rings and Star Wars is going to take a long time.
Yeah, that's
And I
true.
kind of want to bust it out in one sitting.
Well, if you watch that certain ones though, you might ruin it for you because some of them are really bad. Like a lot of the newer ones.
Yeah,
But
that's
like
what I've heard.
the original, you should start with the original ones that came out like in the 70s or the 80s, because yeah,
Yeah, I was told a specific order to watch them in. It was like 3, 5, 1, some random.
well, the very
like 1,
first
5,
one is
3.
called Episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one, and then there's Episode 5 and 6. Those are the ones in the middle are the best. And then they did the prequels. So then they did episodes 1, 2, and 3, which were pretty bad, like really bad. And then after that, they did. I don't think did they continue to name them like episode this 3, 4, 5. I don't think they named it episode 6.
I think so. I think now they just have names.
Yeah,
of,
they
like,
just named them now. But
Rogue One or
the new
Force
ones are
Awakens
basically
or...
a retelling of the original story for like the new generation.
With a different person.
Yeah, it's like literally they still have to. The same objective is to destroy the Death Star.
Literally the same plot line. Just now women can have the Force essentially because there were no women Jedi.
With like updated like characters. So the whole thing is basically just a story of families. Basically, part of the family's evil, part of the family's good, and they're on different sides, and they're like fighting each other, but yeah, so.
I don't know. My brain doesn't know how to mildly enjoy something. I'm all in all the time. You can ask me anything about Twilight, Harry Potter, One Direction, Pokemon, like. Because if I get into it,
interesting.
I'm into it. I have over 50 Care Bears in my attic. I don't even know why. I just have them because I would get into something and learn every fact about it and then just move on.
Yeah.
Go to the next thing. And then I'll go back to it. Like, I got my new laptop and played RuneScape for like 3 weeks straight.
Heck yeah. I love RuneScape.
Thank you.
Yes.
And then, I don't know, and then I'm like, okay, this was good. I remember it from when I was 7. Next. And then just move on to the next thing. I don't know how to be like, yeah, I'll play that in my downtime. I'll go read a book. Because if I'm reading a book, I'm like, this book is done in one day. I get into it and but if I'm not into it, it's out. Which is why school is so bad.
I used to be more like that when I was younger. Like anything that would hook my attention, that I would find an interest in, it could be anything, but it would become like my passion that I would just be obsessed with, and nothing else in the world existed. It's all I wanted to do, and I would just consume it like crazy. And then after I got to a certain level of like consumption or whatever, I just lost interest. I would just lose interest all of a sudden. But all right, I'm done with that. Now what's next? It could be just like anything. I was always just like weird like that.
I feel bad because I would write fan fiction, and now a lot of them are left on cliff notes cliffhangers. Cliffhangers, or just something happened and I never finished it. I have comments being like, please update from like yesterday, and it's been years I've not touched it.
Wow.
And on one story I got a death threat saying, if you don't update, I'll find you. I was like 12 when I got it. I was smart enough to be like, this is not believable, they're not gonna find me, but I was like, oh, my story's so good. Like, have not finished any of them.
Damn, how many did you write?
I wrote one about a Twilight character, one about a Harry Potter character, and a bunch of like mini stories called one shots about a Naruto character. And I would just the one shots became a good thing because I was like, I can bust this out and publish it, and then never update it again. And I was like, that's my calling, and then just never moved on.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I didn't know about you. I'm learning
I tried to be an author.
Yeah, we're definitely into the arts, so.
Yeah,
I tried to be a spy once.
What do you mean?
Yes.
So
I love
like,
that.
When I was in my like, everyone was telling me you're not gonna make it as an actor, I was like, okay, I gotta have another kind of idea. So a vet went through my head, and I was like, I can't cut into an animal. If I hurt an animal or kill it, I can't do that. So vet is out. I wanted to be a spy because I just thought they were super cool. And at one point, I wanted to be a lawyer because I was like, I love to argue. This is gonna be so good. I could bust out my points. And like in Law and Society class sophomore year, I think I won my mock trial, and I was on such a high. I was like, this is so good. And then I found out how much school it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Never mind.
Yeah. God, those are jobs I could never do. I'm not good academically.
I would cry as a lawyer. How do they argue without crying? I would be. Yeah.
So you're the type that would defend people or prosecute? Like which?
I think I'd be. I was the defendant. I was the defender. Yes.
Defendant.
Yeah, defend it.
I was the defending lawyer when I won the mock trial, but when we were being like casted or whatever, that is what I did not want to be. I was like, that'll be so boring. That'll be horrible. I'm gonna be awful at it. And then I won the trial, and I was like, this is so good. So I'm not really sure which I wanted to be. I did want to do prosecution, and then didn't get it, and just kind of had to do what I was given, and it went well, so I'm like, okay.
What were you defending that person against? Like, what was the crime?
It was every single year they used the same mock trial.
I
some.
hate that.
I know, and then like everyone can use the same ideas and everything. But
Ew.
Oh,
Yeah.
our school would have a different one each time. They'd be like real old cases that didn't have an ending or something.
I think it was a real case, but
It
it
was
was the
super
same
fun.
one every time.
Yeah,
And it
hate that.
was some sorority was hazing their new member, or like they were doing welcome week or something, and she was at the top of the clock tower, and all that was known was she was found at the bottom and died. And so the prosecution was like, we need to take down the president of the sorority, we need to take down the sorority itself, give them rules, blah blah blah. Like they pushed her, they were hazing her, it's their fault she was up there in the first place, blah blah blah. And I was defending the class president, so all that was given to us were those details, like all that was known, she was up there, she fell, blah blah blah. So I pretty much got to make up my own details, which I did, and prosecution didn't think to do that. So when I was talking to my defendant and stuff, I was saying like, so here's what our story is, and if the prosecution doesn't say anything, no one can contradict this. So we get up there, and I'm like, what was the weather like? And she's like, it was raining. It was super rainy up there and slippery and blah blah blah. And so we just ended up making the story sound like, yeah, the person was up there and they slipped and fell. No one else was up there. It was a complete accident. They weren't even supposed to be up there, something like that. And it worked. The jury agreed that I was correct, and I had, dude, my closing letter, or whatever it was called,
Closing
like,
argument
it
or
was
statement.
2 pages long, and so, like, I'm sorry, this is gonna sound fake, but it's not. The class was left speechless, and then one person just went, and then the whole class started clapping, and the person that started the clapping was the prosecution. Yeah, and then they were just like, okay, I think Kira won. I was like, yeah.
Love it.
Dang, can you imagine in real life, like if you're a prosecutor trying to put away like a murderer or a rapist or some pedophile, and like you fail, like you lose, like how devastating would it be going home knowing you didn't bring that family justice?
It's pretty
And then-
easy to
and then-
lose,
and-
though.
And then on the flip side, like if you're defending like rapists and murderers and like all this stuff, like either way, man, that's got to be one of those things where you just got to be good. Like I did my best, you know what I mean? But
I had a math teacher who was a lawyer first, and he was very super like jumpy, super like over the top excited. He loved teaching us. And his joke was that he quit being a lawyer because he couldn't jump around and be happy and excited all the time. The real reason that he never told anyone except my older brother, who like became friends with him when they grew up and stuff, was that he was given a case to defend where he knew for a fact the person was guilty, but because he was like the state appointed lawyer or something, he had to defend them and do his best, and he won.
Ooh.
And just couldn't deal with that guilt and that feeling.
Oh,
so
God, that's
he
gonna be
was like, I'm
horrible.
done.
Yeah, that would be a great time.
Yeah.
I think if you are that person, like you have to look at it as like
This is your
you have to like
job.
almost separate like emotionally from it and just be like, this is my job. My goal is to do the best job I can do. My job is not to like pass judgment on the person. But like obviously,
When
like
it's
when
a moral thing like
Yeah.
murder or something, how do you get
but when you're
yourself
sitting there and the
in that?
prosecutor's presenting evidence, I wonder how many like people who are on the opposite side defending are like, fuck, he did it. I know he did it.
And
like
they
in their
pull out
mind.
the like damning one
Yeah.
that no one knows.
But then you have to
about.
be like, objection! You know what I mean? But like you actually know, oh my god, that would be crazy. Being a lawyer, yeah, that could be fun. I'm not good academically. Like, I can't do research and read because there's all the, like, reading you have to do and studying of past cases. And, like, I'm not good academically. Like, I've never been good in school. Like, when I went to college, I stopped buying the textbooks after a while because I just wouldn't read them. And when it would come time to take I'll save $100, not buy the book. And when it comes time to take the test, there was usually only like 1 or 2 questions on the test that was only in the book. All the other stuff was just in the lecture. So I'm like, I could spend $100 for like to answer 2 questions, which I may or might not get right anyway. And so I just like I'll take the hit on those if I can't guess the answer right, or if it's like so I hated it. I hated to go home and like read 30 pages of this and then this other, but like I can't. I'm just not good at school.
Yep.
What about you guys?
Just school.
Just like reading and studying in general.
Oh.
Are you guys all good students?
I got a degree in BS. Bullshit.
I started cheating in 6th grade. Cheated in math class every single year until graduation.
Off of who?
Just everyone.
Yeah, you just
The 7th grade teacher literally would watch me copy my friend's answers, turn in my homework, and then give me a good grade. Just because she
Love it.
didn't want to fail me, she didn't want to repeat it. She didn't want to.
Love
And
it.
then in college, I was caught cheating on my final, which is like you can get expelled for that. And all he did was say, "Don't let me catch that again." I just went, "Okay."
What were you doing? Like how were you cheating?
I am really bad at math. I look at it and I don't know what to do. And so I took a picture and sent it to my friend and said, help. And I happened to be scrolling up at the time on a different math problem from the homework from the day before. And I was like looking at how to do it again or whatever. And that's when the teacher saw it and he was like, can I see that? And he saw my practice homework and said, don't let me see that again. And so he didn't know that I sent a picture. But I didn't even get to end up cheat in the end because I didn't get his answer. I didn't get, so whatever. I still passed.
Yeah.
I still got through.
God, no, I'm terrible at math.
I'm just good at being sneaky.
Yeah. The worst is taking a test where you don't know the answer and you're like, fuck. And then you kind of like, you look over at your friend or you try to gaze over. Oh my God.
Or everyone turns the page and you're still on problem 2.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, everyone turning pages and you're like barely moved. You're like, oh shit.
Speaking of math classes, we would have, the way that my math teacher did our tests in high school, you would get one page at a time, and then when you're done with your one page, you turned it into him and got the next one.
Why?
Well, so that you couldn't look ahead, because these were multiple day tests, so he didn't want you to look ahead and then go home, study your thing, and then come back.
Oh, okay.
And so there would be kids that it would be the first day of the test, they would be completely done, and most of us would be on like page 2 or something, and be like, fuck.
Did you do public school?
I had public school kindergarten through 3rd, and then 4th through 12th was private school.
And did you have public school? No. Do you remember the Wassel?
Oh, yeah. But they changed it from the Wassel to the MSP, the Mr. Stupid Penguin test.
Oh, my
Mr.
gosh.
Stupid
Oh,
Penguin.
and Wassel was wasting a student's learning or like
life.
Student's life.
Yeah.
And then I
we
just
came up
ended
for
up
those
with,
abbreviations for everything.
I just had different standardized tests when I went to private school.
And
that
you
also
went to
didn't count
private
for
school?
anything.
Where'd you
My
go?
only public school was high school.
That was me too.
Yeah.
I went to Catholic school for 10 years.
Yeah.
Is that what you did too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school for 2 years.
I would never have guessed that.
Church.
I'm
Why?
not
Because I always hate on religion.
Because you literally were playing Christian music and I went, is this Christian? And you went, no.
I went to Catholic school for 10 years. We go to church every week on Friday with the whole school, and then on church was Sunday with my parents.
Yep.
Same here?
Yep.
Wow.
Twice
so
a week
it
for
was
10 years.
forced on you, wasn't it?
Well, there was a time where I bought into it because I was growing up. I'm a little kid. This is what my parents do. This is the environment I'm in. But then as I got older, the way my mind works is even with stuff I currently believe now, I always play this devil's advocate with myself. I always just try to see, well, is there possible, how can I argue against this? And it's not like a conscious thing I do. Like my brain just works that way where like things that I believe now, I always think, well, I might not believe that in the future. And why do I believe this now? And did it come from someone else? Or is it something I've discovered on my own and learned about? And how could this not be true? And part of that just comes from me always just trying to problem solve and think and be in my head so much. Also, I'm an introvert. So I'm always thinking about things. And then there became a stage when I was probably getting into my teenage years where I started to question things because the way my brain thinks logically, I was like, well, how did Noah get to of every animal on an ark? I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me, like logically. Like, how could you do that? Like, how did he capture like giraffes and hippos and gorillas at a time where there was no like tranquilizers? He just went and threw a rope around them. Like, my brain works that way where I start to think logically. I'm just like, that's not even like, that'd be hard to do nowadays to go across the entire planet and get 2 of every animal. And then like he would transport them back to the boat and have them chill there while he'd go grab 2 more. And like, and then like, how did he keep, I mean, a zoo nowadays in modern times is this giant thing. It takes an army of people to feed all these animals. Like, how can you get them on a boat, like 2 of every animal and provide enough food and water? Like, that's where my brain goes. And I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, like how? And he'd be like, well, God just compelled the animals to go with Noah.
Well, I assume back then a
yeah.
lot of animals that we have now weren't a thing yet. We have a lot of mutations, a lot of mixtures, ligers, things like that. Like, I'm sure a lot of insects weren't a thing yet, possibly weren't discovered yet. And my brother used to tell me the unicorns didn't make it on the ark, and that's why we don't have them anymore. Yeah.
That'd be cool if they fucking did, though. But no, so that's how my brain works. I'm like, oh, that's not possible. And then I just started to come up with all these questions that I brought to my priest one day, and I had a whole list of things, and I sat down with my priest, and I went through each one, and basically I left unsatisfied. I'm like, oh, they don't know shit. They're just making this up as they go along. I'm just like, this is just, because like even in the Bible, like early on, it was like, God supposedly created Adam and Eve, but at a point in the Bible early on, Adam and Eve traveled to a city. So I asked my priest, I'm like, well, if they were the first people, like, how did they travel to a city that's full of people? Like, because if they were the first ones, it's gonna how did they populate the whole planet in a city that fat? Like, what? And he goes, oh, well, in the Bible, just because it says Adam and Eve were the first ones they created, it doesn't mean he stopped there. He just kept creating more people. And I was like, oh. And then I was like, what? And then another question. I don't remember all my questions, but one was like about the birth of Jesus and how we celebrate it. And he's like, yeah, he's like, we don't actually really know when he was born. Like, we just kind of picked a day to celebrate it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then another thing that's not in the Bible is the Pope, but that's like a whole thing. Like the Pope is the figurehead of the Catholic Church, but that's not in the Bible. And then just all the things in the Bible about, Eve came from the rib of Adam because he was lonely. And I'm like, that makes no sense. And then science, how we came from single cell organism. I'm like, oh, that makes no sense. And then like the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, I saw like a documentary where they were trying to locate, well, where was Sodom and Gomorrah? And like they supposedly think they found the area where it was, where God's like, get out of the city, or I'm going to bomb it because there's murders and rapes and homosexual people. And you have like, if you can find people, then, we'll save the city. But he couldn't find anyone and tell his wife not to turn around and look. And then she did, and all this stuff, right? But they discovered that city. They found like a volcano that had erupted, that had destroyed, that city. And it wasn't like an act of God that destroyed it. But thousands of years ago, people didn't know like science as much. So like a volcano erupted, and actually they found a volcano that had erupted that had destroyed the city. So it's like, what's more likely, like a god destroyed a city because there was people sinning, or a volcano erupted? Like, what's more likely? That's just the way my brain works. And it's like, what's more likely, 2,000 years ago a virgin got pregnant, or she actually had sex with a man and got pregnant? Like, what is more likely? And my brain just goes through these things, and I just kind of break it down into modern times. I'm like, if I came to anyone nowadays and said, hey, my neighbor next door has, because in the Bible, Mary is supposedly between the age of like 13 and 15 when she got married to Joseph, right? And but in that time, in that religion, typically young girls would marry even older men, and they think because Joseph was dead before Jesus had died on the cross, that he was possibly even as old as like 50 or 60, because they think at the very earliest he was about 30 years old when he married Mary. So anyways, but I'm just like, well, what's more likely? She probably just had sex and wasn't impregnated by a god, because that's never happened. And if I came to you in modern times and said, hey, my next door neighbor, she has a daughter who's 14 who's pregnant, but she's a virgin, she never had sex, everyone would be like, bullshit, she's hooking up with her boyfriend or some dude at school, like something's weird. But for some reason, if you say, oh, 2,000 years ago a virgin got pregnant, people are like, really? And like they just believe it. And like all these stories, and like also the first part of the Bible wasn't written down until 30 years after Jesus was dead. So it's like, how are you gonna like start to tell a life about someone who supposedly existed? If Jesus it did exist, at the very least he was probably like a modern day like Dalai Lama, or Thich Nhat Hanh, or maybe a Mother Teresa, Eckhart Tolle, like a modern day character that talked about being present and loving everyone as your neighbor, and how we're all one, and to be mindful and present. At the very least, that was more likely what he was, and not the actual son of a god. And also the translations of the Bible, I've heard it argued that it's not that he was son of a god, that how did the translation go? It's like not the son of God, but a son of God, as if like we are all sons and daughters.
Yeah, I've actually heard that, because like translating Old Hebrew, or actually I have no idea what language it was written in. Maybe it was Arabic. I have no idea. But like translating, it's actually really freaking hard. Yeah. And so when they retranslated it from Old Testament
like
to New
ancient
Testament,
Sumerian,
they had a hard time doing it, because they were like, "Uh-oh, now we know more about translating." Oops.
Yeah.
Like, misunderstood that.
Yeah. Well, it's just like as I just learned all these things, I'm just like, oh, like there's just too much for it to be. And yeah, I mean, and then there's books that have been written. I forget what this book was called, but they had what was the name of the book? There was this book that was written. They had a bunch of priests. They got together to translate. I think it was the Dead Sea Scrolls, maybe, and they spent like 12 years like trying to decipher them and translate them. And at the end of the 12 years, they wrote a book basically on their findings. And the Vatican tried to suppress the book, and they bought up the rights to the book. But then it actually got released eventually. And one of the priests who were there, like translating the scrolls, he said at the end of it, like, it's all a big mistake. Like the whole thing is basically about veganism and fertility rituals, is what he took out of the translation of the scrolls. That it was nothing. Like even Moses in the burning bush. That bush is a bush that's known for psychedelics. It's the acacia bush, and when you consume it or eat it, you like hallucinate. And there's like the story of Moses in the burning bush could literally just be this bush as a psychedelic plant.
Awesome
and
trip.
Yeah. And even
lasted 40 years.
Yeah.
and there's actually a lot of stuff about psychedelics in the Bible. Like I forget all this stuff, but it's about like mushrooms and psychedelics, and there's even parts you can go visit. I forget which part of like in Italy it's at, like at just different churches where they depict these things in pictures and stuff like that. So I don't know. There's just too many, and then there's also like 3,000 religions exist currently, and everyone who believes in their religion thinks theirs is the one. Like I had friends who were part of the Baha'i religion, where they think there's like 7 planets, and you go to there, and like there's just so much, and it's just like okay, like so for the way my brain works, I'm just like I can't buy into it, and it doesn't mean that there's not an afterlife, and it doesn't really mean anything. It just means I can't live my life based on this particular book or teaching or religion because of all the questions I have and all the things I've learned in my life, not just about science, but the stories in the Bible. And also there was a great flood thousands of years ago, because 12,000 years ago, North America used to be covered by like 2 miles of ice.
Yeah.
And during, they found like meteoric impacts on Earth that ended the last ice age 12,000 years ago. And there was flooding all across the planet. It's like one of the arguments my dad used to make would be like, oh, well, the reason why the story of Noah and the Ark is real is because there's different texts out there besides the Bible that speak of flooding. Therefore, it exists, like it's real. But then when you look at the science behind it, the ending of the last ice age caused massive, massive flooding. And you can actually go to Eastern Washington and see like the impacts and stuff. But so it's like once you hear these stories of like the Noah's Ark and the flood and just these other stories, you can like Sodom and Gomorrah. A lot of times you can just find the science behind like a volcano erupting or the ending of the ice age causing massive flooding. Back when a time 12,000 years ago when science wasn't really understood and people would make, the sun god or this god or that god to try to, because human beings also, if you look at the nature of people, we typically don't like to not know something. Like if you say what happens when we die, most people are uncomfortable saying I don't know, especially if a little kid asks you. So human beings in general, even if you look at a little kid and you ask them, well, what is that or what is that? They'll just make something up.
Yeah.
Human beings don't like to say,
Really
I don't
funny.
know, and they're not comfortable with not knowing. So if you say, what happens when you die, most people aren't comfortable being like, oh, I don't know. We'll just see. Most people have to be like, well, we'll be with God, or we're going to go to a better place. There's always, it's just, it has to be
Yeah.
comforting, because it's just human nature. If you, even like simple things, if your friends ask you questions about things like, what do you think about this? Or do you know? A lot of times you'll be like, I don't know. But then you just give an answer. Like, how many times do we give an answer to something that we really don't even fucking know the truth about? But we just make, because it's just the way we are as people. We want answers. So all these little things played into me not being religious anymore. And that's kind of like how it happened for me. But it happened at a very young age. Like I said, when I sat down with my priest, that was the moment where it was just over for me. But that's just the way my brain kind of, goes through it. And so
I have the same thing where I see all sides, like every argument and stuff. It's really hard when a friend tells me like something they're dealing with, because then I'm like, well, what's the other side of it? How can we solve this? But then sometimes it's something they don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And then in your own head, it's really hard when you want one thing and then you have the other way, and then you see the other way and the other direction, and then the other people's feelings come into play, and just you get all sides of every story, and it's just ongoing battles. Yeah.
Well, the thing with religion is like we all of us use coping mechanisms to get through life, even if you're not religious. Like we all deal with like stress and frustration in our own way, and we all deal with not knowing what happens next, and we all deal with death in our own way. So like religion for a lot of people is comforting, but for me, I just view it as like a coping mechanism to navigate life and to deal with life. And it doesn't matter if you're religious or not, we all have coping mechanisms. Like when someone dies, for someone who's not religious, there's like a mourning period you're going to go through, and you're going to do certain things to cope with that loss. And if you're religious, you're going to use your religion to help you cope with that loss. As like, you see people say, oh, God called this person back to be with him, or like people use religion, or we'll see him again someday. Like, so we all use coping mechanisms. And for me, religion is just a mechanism people use to kind of get through life. Because I think when you try to look at it scientifically, it falls apart. And when you try to make arguments for why it doesn't work the way it's read in the Bible, it falls apart. But people still choose to believe anyway, because they think, oh, even if the stories make zero sense logically, they feel like the essence of the message is how they want to live their life, and so they go that way. And so my thing is always like, well, why do you have to go off a book 2,000 years ago? There's plenty of people nowadays that are talking about and teaching, you know, like how to live your life in a healthy way. But that's just one method people pick up. I mean, there's lots of books, there's counselors. I mean, there's a million different ways to live your life. So I don't hate on religion. My only thing with religion is people that, one, take it literally, who actually think, you know, he came back to life after like 3 days and then ascended into heaven. That was one of my other questions I think I had was like, how did it go again? So he's in the tomb, and they said after like a few days he ascended into heaven, right?
3 days. He
3 days in the tomb. Two Marys returned. The rock was moved, and he was gone. And then he showed up in town, and no one believed it was him.
Yeah.
And then
he did he do he performed his last miracle or something?
I don't remember specifically,
exactly.
but yeah, everyone was like, "Oh, Jesus is back," and then he was called back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, the stories are hard for me to get into, but yeah, I just don't like. Also, another thing that bothered me about where people I knew who are religious, and certainly these people exist today, that think, oh, gay people are going to hell, or there's very, you know, the people I grew up with, because I grew up surrounded by Catholic people, and a lot of them are just so judgmental. Mm-hmm. Also, I would see people that would go to church, but then they were just like abusive assholes. Like I came from an abusive family, like I had an abusive father, but he was religious, you know. I went to school every Sunday. He was like a Eucharistic minister. He was the guy that would do the body of Christ. He was the guy that everyone's standing in line to the, you know, at church. Yeah. And, you know, and it's just like I knew a lot of people in the community who just weren't great people that I would look at as they're not any better than anyone else. In fact, they're probably worse because they discriminate and they're so judgmental of other people's lives. And I used to sit down, I would educate myself on lots of different religions. I used to like sit down with Jehovah's Witnesses and talk to them about their beliefs. And they have a belief that only like 120,000 people are going to heaven. Everyone else will stay here on earth. And then when Jesus comes back or whatever, the people on earth will inherit the earth, and only the first 120,000 that died are going to heaven. So every religion's got their thing, and I'm just like, it's like, so much.
I'm just like, believe what you want to believe, just be a good person. Other than that, I really
So I don't know.
Faith, you do you.
So you went to Catholic school or Christian school or what?
Catholic school. 1st through 8th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I realized probably about we had one of those good old boy priests. I realized in 6th grade that all of this was wrong when he said if you get pregnant, it's your fault. And because he would teach the girls separately, and so we would have to learn about the guys and our stuff, but the guys didn't have to learn about our stuff. And I remember, one day this girl asked, she was just like, well, but what if I get pregnant, but it's with somebody I love? She's like, I'll marry them later, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's like, we can, like, essentially, like, how can I fix this if it ever happens, you know? And he was just like, you can't, you're sin. Like, you messed up. There's no going back. Yeah. And it was one of those things where I was like, well, wait, but you literally just said we needed this thing for us to get... Hold the phone. I kept asking all these things, and then but he never explained. Like, I did not know how all of that worked until when you have to take sex ed in high school. I was just like, wait, the what goes where? It was so weird. And then I remember asking him, I was just like, well, but if two people love each other, who cares if they're a man, woman, 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 man, man, whatever they are, well, if they love each other, God doesn't hate love, and he's like, he hates gay love. I just remember being like, no, what is going? My 6th grade brain was just like, you're poor. This isn't right. What? But I eventually figured it out. I was like, I love the morals, you know, and I love people who can have faith and be good people. It's cool because I can't do that. It's something they can do, and it's really awesome. But it's when it starts, taking over, and then they stop being that good person. Can't do it. Can't do it. Yeah. But
What about you? Did you go to private school, Olivia?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I went to a Christian school.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Dude, we're all fucking religious here. We got religious backgrounds and teaching. I had no idea.
I mean, I can still say the Our Father and everything.
Oh my God. Dude, we used to say prayers before every meal, prayers before we went to bed. Lots of praying going on in my life. Yeah. And I remember, in 8th grade, they're teaching us about sex, you know, in a Catholic school. And, the only reason to have sex is to have kids. That's it. That's what they were teaching them. Not for pleasure, just for making babies. And I remember sitting there thinking to me, like, whatever, bitch, you're married. I know you're fucking. I mean, you're not having sex with your husband because she was an older woman. She's probably like 50 or 60. I'm like, your baby making days have been long over. You haven't had sex for 20 years with your husband.
Like,
get the fuck out of here.
No,
it's ridiculous. Did you go to Catholic school or no, or Christian
I went
school?
to public school,
Yeah.
but I am raised and am Christian. Yeah.
Yeah.
nice,
Okay.
nice.
Man, sinner, you didn't go to religious school. You're a sinner.
I don't
Kara.
go to church either. I don't like being told how to interpret and how to think and how to feel about it.
Heck yeah.
I prefer to do my own readings, my own research. I'll find.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah. I have this website where I can go through all the different translations and compare. For those wondering, the KJV or the KJV, I don't particularly like because I find their translations. King James version. That's usually people really like that one, and I find that it has the most incorrect translations. I'm looking at a new one that I just got. I haven't even looked at it yet, but it's like modernized for us. It's so we can understand it easier. Because my thing with the Bible is every time I tried to read it, I would just get super confused. There were so many names and so many dates, and I'd be like, it's not that it's boring, it's hard to keep track of, and while I'm trying to do that and go back, and like I'm just losing my spot.
Contextualize all of it. It's just like
and just to bring up the point, I never understood why we treat homosexuality like it's a worse sin than anything else. It's not even on the 10 Commandments. I never understood why we treat that like it's
the worst thing
like
in the
we
world.
haven't lied every single day of our lives. And people try to tell me like because they're living in their sin, and it's like, did you tell a white lie when you were 8 and never told the truth again? You're living in that too. Did you tell your mom you didn't go out last week and she doesn't know the truth? You're living in that. You're sinning too. Are you going to go to hell for lying every single day of your life? No, you're not. And because they're gay doesn't mean they're going to hell. And I hate that kind of understanding and that kind of teaching that if you're anything, you're going to hell. All you got to do is believe and love and have faith, and that's it. And I think the biggest misconception of Christianity is that we spread hate and ignorance because that's what is taught. And unfortunately, that's a big thing. People misinterpret and then spread hate and don't understand what they're actually doing is very un-Christ-like and very incorrect. And all we're supposed to do is just love. Yeah. We're called to spread the gospel, but it literally says if they don't want it, then stop. It literally says if someone says, I hear you, but I don't want to listen anymore, it's not for me, then you go, cool, and you move on. It literally says that. It literally says that, and so it's just like, it's not that hard to live religiously or not, and then just in peace with each other. It gets really tricky when it comes into the laws and everything like that, and I'm still struggling a lot with that kind of stuff, so that's a very, more private issue, I guess I'm dealing with.
What do you mean laws? Like, what do you mean?
When it comes to voting and when it comes to the rights of people, because I'm a very, if they're not a Christian, why do they have to follow my religious rules? I don't think that should be a thing. And then my Christian teachings will tell me, well, you're Christian, so even if they're not, you still have to vote for what is Christian, Christ-like. And I just really struggle with that. Like, why should I force them to follow my rules? Because we have freedom of religion and we have separation of church and state. So I don't think that I should be forcing them. And then it's just a big moral and heart issue that I'm still working through. So it's I'm not going to say it's easier having faith. It's definitely really hard, but it's misunderstood and it's taught wrong in a lot of places, and it's really not taught right. It's not taught that we're supposed to love overall. It's taught we're supposed to judge, and we're supposed to damn everyone else, and we're supposed to pick apart everyone else's flaws. When really you're just supposed to say, I love you, you, here's my issues that I'm working through, and then deal with it. It's not that hard. Yeah.
That was good, Kara.
Thank you.
I know. Well, I like that you're doing your own work on it too. I've had friends who, they've been Christian for a long time, and after a while they're like, oh, screw the church, blah, blah, blah. But then they're like, nah, I just had to figure it out for myself. Heck yeah.
I figured out as a young kid I can't sit there and be quiet and stay awake for the most part. I'm always drawing, getting my arms scratched or whatever. And then I figured out I'm going there and he's going, here's what it says, and this is what it means, and you gotta go home and do this. And I'm like, no, I don't. That's not what it means either. And then,
So does anyone else in your family go to church? Or I mean,
My-
I know you don't, but does
Because of like work and then COVID and stuff, we kind of stopped.
Uh-huh.
I still am not a fan. I was forced as a kid to dress up and go and stuff. Eventually, they realized I hated the dresses and hated the fanciness, so they let me go in pajamas.
Nice.
Love it.
And now they don't really just force me. If I want to stay home and do my own stuff, they let me. I'm just not big into sitting for an hour and a half and just
Yeah.
listening. And then my parents, I'm sitting in the car waiting to go, and they're talking to everybody. And
Oh, my
I
parents,
relate
my dad
to
used to do that too. I'd be sitting there, I'm like, oh my
until
god,
everyone is gone,
just
they're
talk
the last
forever.
ones.
I'm like, oh my god, as if he doesn't know we're sitting here waiting. I'm like, dude, like,
Dip.
ugh.
But I've definitely struggled too. I've definitely been like, I wish I knew. I wish I had answers because I
Oh,
really
yeah.
hate not
I
knowing.
would love to have
Surprises.
answers.
I hate a surprise party. I hate.
Oh.
Some people love surprise. They're like, oh yeah, random gift. I hate not knowing. I want to know how to react, and I
Uh,
want to know what to expect, and I want to have the answers, and I just can't. And I don't. For me, I think the like good that comes from it, and the peace and the comfort, that I get from it, far outweighs not having it. And in the end, if what I believe is correct, I have eternity of happiness, and if it's not correct, I lived a good life.
Yeah.
And that's just how I try to live.
That's a good way to break it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is your parents still religious? No.
My dad's actually Buddhist.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then my mom, she was never really religious, but she was just brought up in it, and like she was baptized and stuff, so she just knows enough about it. But they both just agreed that religion, if taught and like received well, like has really good morals, and they wanted
Yeah.
they're like, we want our kids to just really get seeped into that like community feeling and the morals feeling, and like to take care of your, like, love your neighbor, like that type of thing. Otherwise, my parents are like, yeah, if you want to get baptized, you figure it out. My mom was also like, I want you to make sure this is what you want. She was like, if you really want to seal your faith, then I'm gonna make you make that decision. She's
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna do that for you. So I guess they're kind of religious, kind of not.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Dude, my parents have gone to church every Sunday for like since I've been alive.
Wow.
Like,
That's
they like
dedication.
never miss.
Whoa.
I mean, they missed maybe growing up. They'd maybe, I remember as a kid, because I have to go with them. Missed maybe 3, 4, 5 times ever.
Wow.
Like,
Dang.
just all about it. What about your family?
Pretty religious, but also like my brothers, they all believe their own things and
Different religions, you mean, or just?
Variations of like, okay, well, I believe most of this, or this is the degree that I believe it, and then some just like I don't believe any of it.
Mm-hmm.
But they gave us definitely a very firm foundation in it, which is good, and then said, well, now it's your turn, you decide.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna respect you as people, and we're always gonna love you no matter what you believe, and so figure it out for yourself. And all of us have definitely figured it out for ourselves, or are continuing to figure it out, which is always nice.
Those
but
are good parents.
yeah, I really like the way they did. They always were there for questions, and like, we're a sounding board for you, and if you don't want to go, you don't have to. We're not going to make you, but this is what we're going to do, and we'll always love you, and so will God.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good parent.
Someone's gonna say, I forgot. I was gonna say something. What was it? I don't know. It's related to what we're talking about. But while I was listening to you, like, a thought came in.
Yeah, yeah.
But now I completely forgot it. So never mind.
Never mind.
Well, awesome, guys. We'll wrap this up. So
Yeah.
this was our employee bonding podcast that Kira wanted us to do.
Woo!
Yes.
So I think we're bonded now.
Yes.
I
Very,
like
very
it.
bonded.
We miss you, Jasmine.
Aw.
Jasmine flaked. It would have been fun to have
It's
her
okay.
here.
It's okay.
So, anyways.
We would have needed to do the podcast at a different angle.
Oh yeah, huge.
Well,
So,
what?
Would have had to like stand up there. I don't know.
Well, because I don't have enough mics for
Yeah.
another person.
We'd have to use like
we,
a
we-
lapel mic or
well, we would have had
something.
a share, is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Because that one, someone could have sat in the middle, and that
Oh,
mic could have
yeah,
been
yeah.
in between two people. Like, that's the only way to do it. But, or maybe we sat over there and
I
talked
was
in
gonna
that
say,
one.
yeah, they could have talked into that.
Yeah. Well, we got so much going on.
Yeah.
But everyone listen to this podcast. Come to Oddities because it's been super slow because COVID.
Yeah.
Very slow.
You're bored. Listen to our
Very
podcast
slow.
and get coffee.
That's
We
right.
have free stuff a lot of the time.
Woo!
True.
Any parting comments? Anything anyone wants to say before we go?
No.
No?
Stay
Okay.
safe. Stay healthy. Whatcom County.
That's right. I
Woohoo.
think Whatcom's doing pretty good with the COVID.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I don't know. I see people wear masks everywhere.
Yeah.
I never see anyone not wearing one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think everyone's obeying the rules.
Yay!
So good job, guys. Good on us.
We're doing great.
Except Kara and I aren't wearing one, but
Oh, sorry.
Really, I asked about it before we filmed this, and I was told that it's not a big deal.
it's not a big deal.
I
no.
tested negative for it last week.
Good.
I know I'm.
And I take a medication that actually kills COVID.
Wow.
I'm taking
What?
a medication right now to treat my tick-borne illness, which is a medication they give to people to treat coronavirus. It's called disulfiram. And it's actually, when I was trying to get it, my doctor was like, there's a nationwide shortage because they're using it to treat COVID patients. But this is a medication that I take to treat my tick-borne illness. So I'm already, like, taking medication to treat it, and it actually prevents it from even, like,
You're
attaching
superhuman.
itself to me. So
Wild.
I'm
These
immune.
comments are FDA approved.
I got built-in immunity, so I'm just walking around like I don't care. So, but I wear a mask, guys. Don't worry.
Good.
We're always masking up. All right, bye everyone.
Bye.
That was a wonderful.